Clearing property.
No,
How about these?
Looked at this stuff.
Yes, thank you.
you don't let around the
Hi.
house.
So, I'm thinking.
No,
Hey.
clearing it,
No, I ain't no
Not
started.
operation.
done. The only thing I didn't ask them to do is break it out right there at the highway, so I'll do that myself.
So you're talking about you pinned it all, but you
And
haven't.
cut it.
So
It's already
when
been
did you
done.
cut that down the hill there? A feet? I must be asleep when I go down there.
And you have to make a- So let's schedule a day one day, not tomorrow, but
What did you use?
they use the brush cutter.
Brush cutter? Okay. So there's plenty of stops.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's see what it looks like.
I have to bring a high lift up there to ride the barrier
Well, it ain't that.
Adam will take you in the truck.
one.
Yeah.
The stobs right there to have a new set of tires.
Yep.
Hey, man, Johnny. I better dip my phone there. Tammy up a call me.
Which one's fine?
I'll say,
This one's fine. This one's fine. Hey, Art, can you give me the sign-in sheet?
Yeah.
And
Okay,
you got all taken care of. There's two copies. There you go. Say I'll leave it off with you. Approval of July agenda, then I put it on this one. Then I have to.
Before we do the, I'll just, maybe before we do the technical, just mention that you added that on it, cause that's when we can do changes to the agenda. Anyway,
Yeah, but I didn't read it.
well,
It's
the
not really a
agenda's-
change.
Until the meeting, the agenda's not set. You know what I mean?
Just mention it.
It's not voted on until we actually start the meeting, so.
I hope. Okay, I was able to get on it, so I just read it.
Cause did the agenda go out public before you changed this?
Yeah.
I'm just voice it, but you added that on. I'll start having it on there each month instead of.
Well, they're videoing, but I can still do this. Are you ready?
who's video?
Yeah, but the way it's acted, I'm afraid not to.
This one.
They're already in there, Pat. Those are just extras.
All right, it's 6:30, so I'm going to call this meeting to order. And right before we get started, for the meeting, I do want to say something that I want to say that we would like to congratulate Miss Parker. Yes. Yes, she is leaving the newspaper. She is taking a job as a paralegal, and so we're very excited for her, but we do appreciate how well she has covered solid waste meetings, and thank you a lot, Parker, and wish you lots of luck.
You can come back and see us anytime. They're so fun.
Yes.
The highlight of my life. I know you
Well, you know where to find us.
You can tell us afterwards.
So, all right, so we'll get started with our meeting, and I'm going to ask Larry to do our pledge and our invocation.
Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let's pray. Dear God and gracious Heavenly Father, we come before you tonight thanking you for this opportunity to gather again. God, as we go forward with this meeting, we ask for your guidance, that it might help each and every one of us make sound decisions, protect our firefighters, our law enforcement, our military, and all those involved in the first responders. God, we thank you. We love you. In Jesus' name we pray these things. Amen.
Amen. So I know that we had put off the approval of the May 11th, 2021 meeting minutes, and so we're gonna go ahead and look at those, look for a motion to go ahead and approve those.
I have some changes to submit. My husband finally got my computer retrieved, my data retrieved. I worked all night to get the minutes finished, and I got copies of what I proposed to add in. And I'm sorry I didn't get it done any faster, but that's the best I could do under the circumstance.
Well, then why don't we just put off the approval of the May 11th minutes for next time? Does that work?
That's fine, or you can, whatever you wanna do. There's copies for everyone.
How many changes are there?
Everything in bold is a change.
Was this after, did you have an opportunity to review the video or any actual
Yes,
recording?
yes, that's the result of the video. And everything in bold was either left out. One suggestion that I would like to make just in general is that we number our pages. I know we don't do that, but gee whiz, if they fall out of the tray and you have more than 2 sets, try to figure out what goes with what.
I've been there. I can recognize that.
I can too. Pat, were you able to get the video? Do you?
I finally got the video. That's what I said.
Yes. Okay.
Actually, what had happened, I had made a small clip for Mr. Anklin, and in all the mix-up, I moved the video into another directory and couldn't find it. So it was just a clip without any identification.
Okay.
So it took a while to find.
Okay. Well, I'll do whatever the board wants to do.
If you'd like to postpone it, that's fine.
That's up to the board.
And I didn't know what title you would like, whether you would like to be called chairwoman or chair or chairman. So I just put chairwoman because I think it had been used previously, but that's really at your discretion.
That's fine. I'm not picky on that. For the board, what do you want to do?
It's in black and white.
And everything that isn't in bold is what was in previously. Unless there was a typo, then it was in bold also.
Do you want to take a few moments and go through?
That's fine. Is that okay? All right. It's thick paper, Pat.
Yeah, I get accused of having thick paper. It doesn't jam in the printer though.
That's true.
One thing that I did insert, which I found that prior to January, with regards to the last item before your signature, that it always stated when the next meeting would be held, and that was during all of Mr. Field's tenure, that was always added in. And that could be deleted if you wish. Pen.
There's not even in there.
Kelly, I found on something, thank you.
Does anybody need any more time on the May meeting minutes?
I need a couple more.
Okay.
I'm slow reading. I'm good.
All right, if everybody's looked over it, I need a motion on the May minutes. Motion to approve,
Make a motion to approve.
Second,
all right. Got a motion by Pat and a second by Steve. All those in favor signify.
Aye.
Sorry, I didn't ask if there was any questions or concerns.
And there is.
There is.
I will abstain from the May minutes. I wasn't present during the meeting.
Okay.
Only what goes in black and white can I go by.
Abstain. All right, everyone should have had an opportunity to look over the June 8th minutes. I believe those were sent out early enough for everybody to take a look at them.
I have some corrections.
Okay, Pat, let's get a motion and a,
I'd like a motion to amend the minutes with the following corrections. And I can turn this in either Word document or verbal. The first correction, and it is just a typo, it has to do with the 6:30 PM. There's a space and a period. I'm going to request that with regards to the motion that was made, to amend whenever there's a one no, I would like to specifically state that I was the no vote. So I would like that inserted into the minutes. I think it's been done in the past, and I would like to follow the same tradition. With regards to page 2, which would have been the second page, there were numerous questions that I believe should be included into the minutes that were asked of Mr. Dixon that are also follow-ups. One was Ms. Hunter requested an organizational chart, contacts, email addresses from Mr. Dixon. He said he would provide it. Mr. Jameson said the current contract does not benefit us. I think that's very important to put into the minutes. Mr. Field asked about Republic's environmental philosophy and doing something constructive with the methane from the landfill. Ms. Hunter spoke about the 150 miles out of county waste radius provision in the current contract. What are your plans? Do you plan to bring in more out of county waste? Mr. Stewart requested best management practices that you use in the management of landfills, which Mr. Dixon said he would provide. Mr. Anklin asked, what is your philosophy on cogeneration? And Mr. Jameson requested that Republic notify LCSWDC if they plan to bring more out of county waste. Mr. Dixon agreed to do so. I think those are important issues that need to be in the minutes. With regards to the next paragraph where it's stated, Ms. Hunter requested answers about contract, I put contract clause 12.2. And I also added to the end of that, Santec also sent the proper notice of the transaction under the contract. Ms. Hunter asked Mr. Stevens, where's the notification letter sent to LCS WDC letter? And what about the Santec Republic letter of notice to TDEC? Mr. Dixon said he would follow up on the Santec Republic letter of notice to TDEC. And Mr. Stevens said he would follow up with regards to the letter to LCS WDC. The other thing that I thought was very important to say in the minutes was Mr. Jameson's complaint. Mr. Jameson said that he drove past the landfill and he saw the gate open on Sunday afternoon at around 3 p.m. Ms. Hunter said she turned in pictures to Chairwoman Littleton Brewster when she had observed the front gate unlocked at the landfill weeks earlier. It is a liability to LCS WDC. Mr. Hall said that he would provide his contact number on the front sign. And like I said, the only other thing that I added was with the no vote, that it state my name. And I'll be glad to turn this in and send you a
Word
A
copy
word
would be helpful, thank you.
if you could pass that to him.
All right.
In the bylaws, it specifically stipulates that any corrections or additions that we make to the minutes, that they are to be made in public. And I'll be glad to provide you with a copy, a hard copy and a Word copy, Mr. Stevens. But I think that I'm going to follow the bylaws and do it by book.
All right, are there any other corrections? All right, if not, just entertain a motion to approve the amended June 8th, 2021 minutes.
So moved.
Motion by Art,
Second.
second by Ms. Hunter. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed. Motion passes for amended June 8th, 2021 minutes. Before we move on, I put out the agenda, I sent it to the county, had them post that, and I did fail to leave off one thing, and that's why I had the agendas here for you, so I wanted to make sure you all knew. Added in just where it says the approval of the July agenda, because I had left that part out.
I make a motion, we approve the agenda.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Jameson, a second by Ms. Bivens. Any more discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed. Agenda is approved. Since then, let's move on to item 4, items of public concern. Did you sign in? Were you the only one that signed in? Oh, look, nobody signed in. Parker, you're not gonna speak on the last time.
Here's that way, Charles.
Gosh. Thank you, sir.
You will. Chairwoman Brewster, members of the commission, audience members, Santec. There's three things I'd like to talk about. One of them is item 3.
Hey, Richard, move this a little bit towards you and speak
Speak
up.
up a little.
Yeah, speak up, and step right into it.
All right. Item 3 is one of the issues I'd like to talk about. I'm kind of interested in whether a 10-minute guideline is requested for public concern. I handed out before the meeting an article that was written back in 2009 from the LC Beer Rule Changes we tried to make. The first highlight was Mayor Brookshire allotting 10 minutes for the beer meetings to be shared on however many people showed up. As such, 2 minutes were given to each individual. Second highlighted area, Mr. Shaver, the 5th District Commissioner at the time, spoke for all of those 10 minutes. After his time ran out, another citizen in the audience at the meeting gave their 2 minutes to Shaver so that he could continue on 2 separate occasions. When the 10 minutes allotted had been reached, Mr. Berkshire again notified Shaver that time for public comments was up, at which point Mr. Shaver responded, "Matt, I think you're being real rude. I think it's worth this time." Shaver then said it was Doris Burns' turn to speak when the mayor reminded those present that the time for public comments had expired. At that point, Mr. Shaver remarked, Burns' time to speak was taken from her, and Berkshire responded to Shaver was the one who took the time. It goes on further to talk about how, as the meeting progressed, the votes were taken, the public got up and left. And on the backside, I would never do this, but for your information, after passing the audience, majority of the crowd left, and the council temporarily paused while they exited the building. During this time, Ms. Burns said to the council, "I hope you all get run over by a drunk," because this was about passing beer ordinances. I think that was rude. I would never do that to you. But what is your 10 minutes for public concern?
I just did exactly what the board said, just to put it as a guideline. We talked about this last time, and I believe we even took a vote on it. It was to say that I put it in there as a guideline, not stating that we are going to cut you off at 10 minutes.
Okay,
It was a guideline.
that's acceptable. For
Huh?
me, anyway. I don't know if it would be for anybody else, but thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome.
The second item I also handed out to you is a follow-up from my standpoint as to questionnaires for stakeholders. And I'm not trying to steal your thunder, Mr.
That's fair.
But I put together a 3-page summary, one of them being a chart. I've talked to you multiple times saying that I don't think the issue is complicated as you may think it is. I gave a brief history. The bottom half of the first page is what we'll be requesting from the interlocal cooperation partners. The back of that page is a description of landfill and its requirements for those that may or may not be up to speed. A lot of information, and I wouldn't ask everybody to sit here and read it. But I can email it to you if you'd like. The important thing is the chart in the back. I pose 4 questions. Allow the agreement to expire in 2027, thus closing the landfill and sending the county's waste elsewhere. I'm not sure anybody wants to do that, especially residential customers and industrial customers. Second item is to seek an alternative agreement via RFP, not Q, with Republic and/or others, changing the revenue split from the 90-10 currently to ensure adequate closure, post-closure dollars are generated. I find that one to be very important, considering that you've got 40 acres, $200,000 an acre, that's $8 million. You're sitting on about 4.5. In the next 6 years, you're not gonna make that up. Item C, expand the current permitted footprint .7, there should be a YF to 4 acres to 53 acres, and/or 67, which is the essence of what we've talked about for 3 or 4 years. Extending the landfill operation 12 years through 2038 at 53 acres, and/or 27 years to 2054 through 67 acres. And the last one, sell it to a third party, but this is the big thing, guaranteeing that the county's waste stream, industrial, residential, or commercial, goes to that landfill as the DOJ forced Republic to let the Bradley County landfill accept their waste from the owners of the landfill, the residential contracts that they picked up for an indefinite period of time. On the right side of this is the 3 stakeholders, Lenore City, Loudon City, and Loudon County. I did not set this up for every person on those commissions to vote, but certainly I would present this to them if I was allowed to, and ask each person to vote. If I was in front of Lenore City, the council, Loudon City, and of course the commissioners. And then you would collect all the answers, tally them, and bring them back to this group, and chart a path forward. This is my interpretation of what could be done, and I offer it for your understanding and maybe helping you get to the conclusion. Third item I'd like to talk about, just before I got here today, I got a notification from the TVPOA internal mail system. Republic is now my garbage company. I will get my bills from them. And I'm curious, do you know if they're gonna change the truck colors? Like they have?
I don't know that.
Nothing yet?
Don't know that.
They did say that the Public Works Department has met with representatives from Republic, and they were informed that from this day forward, all billing would come from Republic rather than Santec. It's a piece of information for you.
Are you talking about
I'm sorry?
Telco, are you talking about Telco Villages?
Yes,
Public Works?
yeah. Santec is our residential pickup service. And as we alluded to before, I think it was more than a month ago when I was over to the landfill, the sign had been changed outside that Republic says that Santec is now a subsidiary of theirs for this landfill. This is just more of the slow takeover of the various operations affecting the various customers. We happen to be a big customer of theirs, and I have no objection to it. I've seen Republic in multiple states, and some of my family use Republic in a couple of those states, so I don't have any concerns with that. The last thing, in the meeting minutes, it says, I asked for that letter, a 90-day letter, and Ben, you said last time that you weren't familiar with it. On the notification of TDEC of the merger. I gave you the paperwork last month. I gave it to the Republic representative. He didn't want it. And I don't know if you all have ever seen it or not. Did we ever get that letter informing TDEC of the merger between these two companies? And if so, who's got it? It's in the meeting minutes, this one that you just read. Kevin, you have it?
I do not.
Then you
I
have
think
it?
Mr. Dixon said he was gonna follow up on that.
I'm sorry?
I think Mr. Dixon said he was gonna follow up on that, and I had a conversation with him this afternoon, and he said that loose ends that he knew he needed to follow up on, but couldn't make it in this meeting would be discussed and closed during the next meeting, so.
Do we have to wait till the next meeting, or could they forward it? Would you ask if he could forward it up to?
Sure, I'll definitely ask the question.
To Ms. Brewster, please? And then Chairman could distribute it. Thank you. It was 8 minutes, Kelly.
Madam Chairman, I'd like to address Mr. Anklin on something. In being part of this commission, and back when Mr. Fields was chairman, going to the stakeholders is really a challenge. You get a very difference of opinions, just like you have here, and trying to get it across, trying to come at them with a solid proposal. It's very difficult. I attended Lenore City, I attended Loudon, and I attended the Loudon County Commission, along with Mr. Fields. And most of the time, it wound up being a punching bag on Mr. Fields, correct, Steve?
Last couple times, yes.
Yeah. And it's a very challenging task to get done. Yet we hold the responsibility as a commission to make the decisions. And that was very emphatically relayed to me and Mr. Fields. We should be doing our job.
Right.
Now to the task of Republic starting to charge you out Tellico Village. One of the things, benefits that Tellico Village has out there, they're getting their garbage at a lower rate than the rest of the stakeholders.
No, they're not.
Okay? So, you know, I strongly disagree with how Republic Santec handles that. But I mean, it's a lot. They get a discounted rate on their contracts.
I agree with
No,
Sam.
Let me clarify that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Our disposal and our intercompany disposal rate is different from what the customer is charged.
Right.
There is no
There's no
confusion
discount for
there.
us.
So what you're coming in the gate from Tellico Village with is the same rate as the county, the two
It
cities
is
is,
our intercompany rate.
It's their intercompany rate, which is less,
which is less than the stakeholders,
But
correct?
that's not what we're charging the customer.
Does it
but your
translate
customer
into
is
hours?
getting charged more.
When WCI picked up our garbage, we paid $13.44.
Gotcha.
We paid $13.44 for the last 1 or 2 years, and just recently went up to $13.54, so Santec matched what we were paying. We did not reap any benefit for the.
From that, okay.
It
But
does-
it's still, I'm still upset on the way the structure of rating,
Oh, I
they're
agree.
getting a discounted rate
The
regardless.
tipping fee, yeah.
Yeah.
The tipping fee's discounted.
A discounted rate,
About $2 a ton,
huh?
$2 a ton.
Yes, $2 a ton. And that's not fair to our stakeholders.
No, I agree with that.
So, again, those are some of the things that Ben and this commission has talked about, and I think Mr. Dixon understood that is a problem.
And acknowledged, we'll look at them.
Yeah.
And I think, yes.
That's all I've got.
But I just wanted to clarify, this residents of Tellico Village did not get a break on the transition from WCI to Santec, nor would I expect it to be from Santec to Republic.
I got you.
All I was bringing up was, I got an internal email that said from this day forward, bills will come from Republic, not Santec.
Just change the letterhead, basically.
Basically, I don't expect to see a rate change. If I do, we'll be back. I'm sure. You don't want 4,000 people on your doorstep.
And just to let you know, the county got a little email too, and we also got, our bills now say Republic on them and not Santec, which is
Which is normal.
normal, yeah.
Yes, very, very much.
But I
normal.
know the county got one, so.
And I'm just waiting for the truck to turn green. Green.
He said overtime,
They are green.
Turn blue.
blue. Right, Adam, blue?
My shirt blue.
Shirt blue.
Energy, I meant on color.
All right,
Thank you for your concerns, Richard.
You're welcome.
thank you.
And do you feel like you had enough time to address it? I mean, I'm being,
No, and Ms. Bivens, you're perfectly correct in asking that. I apologize, and you can see it in your meeting, for taking as long as I did last time. Ms. Littlefield accepted that apology at that meeting, so I was okay. I'm still okay. I just didn't want, if more people came in here, and you all had this artificial 10 minutes to slice and dice it in 2 minutes each, if there were 5 of them, and then have to beg, borrow, and steal from the other. I just brought that in, is it had been tried before to no avail.
well, I think I was not understanding it as there would only be 10 minutes allowed for all public comment, 10 minutes allowed per
Per
person.
individual.
Per individual.
Per
10 minutes
individual
is
time.
more than enough if you're dealing with one or two topics. If you recall, I tried to cover 3 or 4.
Yeah. You covered 4, and I timed you just out of curiosity. 6 minutes, 34 seconds. You have plenty of time left. Now, I didn't time all of it because you weren't talking during all of it. Some of it we were talking during, so, and I mean, and that's the fair way to do it in my mind.
Yeah, even in that time when I overran for what seemed like a tremendous amount of time, we did have dialogue
You're right.
for some of that. I don't know how much.
Yeah.
But I'm willing to stand there forever and answer whatever you ask me, if I can do the same in asking you.
And I appreciate the fact that you have these and coming to us with that. That's extremely helpful, and I appreciate that.
I've been thinking about it for 6 months. I finally sat down and put it down on paper. And thought, okay, when this topic showed up that Steve's got, or maybe Ms. Brewster, there is an attachment, I thought, that was being walked in tonight. It would be the perfect opportunity. Here's 2. And I believe, Steve, you had one from 2005-06 that had a whole bunch of questions on it. Now you've got 3. The one from 2005-06 for purchasing made sense, with all of those questions in that much detail. I think the situation on contract going forward is a very fundamental question. In, out. If in, out. Just answer the very simple questions and then go for an RFP to get the answer. I'd be willing to help with that. I've written a lot of them.
All right, if there's nothing else, we'll move on to the attorney's report.
Okay, I'll be brief tonight. One of the things that I've been working on, as you well know, is discussion with Dr. Bacchus on his landfill analysis, and in particular on his phase closure plan analysis. And that analysis is being used in conjunction with our response ultimately to TDEC for their request for information. Dr. Bacchus has prepared a draft which has been circulated with the commission. I requested comments or questions initially and did receive some feedback and some comments and questions. He has revised the analysis and will continue to do so if we have more comments and questions. I talked with Chairwoman Brewster a bit about how we could allocate his time at a meeting. First of all, he was not available tonight to come here in person. I know we had wanted him to be here in person. He wasn't available tonight. So when discussing with Chairwoman Brewster, we thought about, do we want him at another regular meeting, or would it be more beneficial to allocate all of our time at a special meeting to talking with him through this, given the importance of this subject? And I think ultimately we felt it's more important to have a special meeting, so it's not going to get mixed in with our other ordinary business and questions, and that way we can allocate all of the time to speak with him, to hear his presentation, and for him to answer questions. So that being said, we have scheduled a special meeting on July 22nd at 6:30. It will be here. That meeting is being noticed in the News Herald. I've already circulated the notice in the News Herald, so they should have that, and that will be published. So, that's going to be an important meeting. Dr. Bacchus will be here, talk through everything, and for those that have heard him, he's very good at explaining and addressing questions and comments, and I think it will be very informative for everybody. So that's the main thing I wanted to report on. If, as you're looking or thinking about his presentation, you have questions or comments, please send those to me in advance so that I can prepare him for that and he can update his report or have any other analysis that you think is helpful to the process. But 6:30.
I have a question.
Yes.
With regards to the notice itself, it is dedicated solely to his presentation.
Yes.
Okay. And are we going to be allocating time for the public, for Republic, or how is the format for the
Yeah,
actual?
I think it'll be a fairly open format. We'll have him present first, so that he can go through his presentation and give a high-level summary, and then, I think it will be open to questions for anybody that's in attendance. I think we want to give everybody the opportunity to ask questions and get his comments and feedback. So, the intention, as I understand it, is for it to be sort of an open forum for him to address questions after he has an opportunity to present.
Do you think that we can get some maps where we can actually see the elevations? Because I still have a problem with the maps. I'd
Yep.
like something bigger or something in digital format that I can take somewhere and get it
Sure.
enlarged. I want elevations that we're actually looking at. The only other concern that I have with regards to this is have you heard anything from TDEC with regards to the delay of the submittal of the plan? Have you heard any direct feedback?
You have, I'm sorry.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, that's right, we did get,
I
yes,
forwarded y'all
yes,
an
yeah.
email.
Yes.
So what did they
It's
say?
extended till
Because I didn't see the.
August 30th.
Yeah,
I was thinking August 30th.
that's right, I couldn't
August
remember what the date
31st.
was, yeah. Oh, thank you.
Somebody run out of ink.
I don't know why we did it, I don't know why we did it in gray. That's the same question.
I don't even.
That's great, right? Instead of black. Somebody was trying to be fancy.
So that's, I think, pretty clear their August 31 extension, so, we should have an opportunity between our meeting on the 22nd and then any interim follow-up, and then ultimately can address at our August meeting to bring to conclusion.
We even, I think, went for a 90-day extension, and they requested we keep it within August 31st, so 60 days.
May I make a request? With regards to your CCs, I know that this is internal, but it is a public record going to a public agency. Could you also make sure that our chair is copied on any communication?
I forwarded this to her. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, he did.
And Kevin, will we get an opportunity to review this report prior to the 22nd?
Yes.
It might be just to
Yeah,
have some idea
sure.
of what's coming down the pipeline and
I think that's reasonable, so.
be able to ask, prepare ourselves and
Yeah.
have our own rebuttals.
So
I'm
we'll-
going to have some questions that I would like to submit. I haven't had time, but I'm going to do that in the next day or two.
So one comment, and Ben, see if I'm right on this, is that we have this task we're working on for TDEC to meet their requirements.
Correct,
It's based on the current permitted footprint.
100%.
And at some point in time, you could maybe fill us in on when that may be, there's gonna be a change or a proposal to change the landfill in terms of doing a major mod, which would change the footprint,
Correct.
require an updated version of this post-closure scheme. So whatever we end up with long-term will probably be different than what we're talking about starting on the 22nd or whatever. So just something to keep in mind, that what we get on the 22nd will probably not be what goes forward with in the long term, based on doing a major mod.
To answer your question in terms of what that footprint looks exactly like at this day and age, I think it's still a question mark. I think the Second Amendment outlines a lot of that of what it could look like. If the Second Amendment is not something we can proceed forward with, which, you know, we're really hoping we can, you know, there are contract stipulations that may require some additional modifications, whether that modifications is a lateral expansion of 20-ish acres or whatever the number is, or 2 is, you know, a question mark as well. So I think all of those things are, you know, in discussion, in review right now. I think, you know, last time Randy mentioned we're really going through a lot of this stuff and you know, looking at it a second time, and I think all of that's being looked at. And what will likely be presented in the very near future. So you're correct.
So we agree.
Just something to keep in mind.
Yeah, no,
I went through this.
Yeah, that's a very important distinction. What we're giving TDEC now is relative to the footprint we have, and that is very likely to change in the future, but we just don't know. So all we can do is operate with what we have on the footprint currently.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I just ask, if anybody else has more comments or questions in advance, go ahead and get those to me so I can convey them to Dr. Bacchus, and that way he'll be fully prepared to address all your questions, and I will send an advance copy to you all, so you at least will know what we're looking at.
Do you have any idea why Dr. Bacchus went beyond 2027 since the contract ends in 2027?
I'd say that's gonna be a good question for him.
Yeah, and I think,
Because
yeah,
no,
his
I mean,
best
we
answer-
did
no.
not ask him to do
No.
that.
no,
Well, and I think that's important, because if we have a contract that says it ends in 2027, but we have the option to request another year, twice,
right.
then to me, the deadline is 2027. And I don't understand why he went beyond
I
that.
think maybe he was just trying to give us a bigger picture so that we would know. I mean, you didn't request it,
No.
I didn't request it, or
Yeah, that's
anything.
what I was wondering, where did that come from?
I don't
Well,
know.
That's
So
gonna have to
that's
be
one-
a
That's a
question
good
for
question to forward
him.
to,
Yes.
absolutely.
Yes, that's a good question for him.
So the contract ends in 2027, but the contract also requires, assuming it ends in 2027, the
Yes.
contract requires Santa to provide 2 additional years of airspace. So there's airspace at least till 2029.
If we request it, yes.
No, it states
No.
there.
No, it states.
It states that.
left.
Mhm.
So, you know, you can't close something if there's contract stipulation saying it has to be left.
Yeah, and that may be the origin of his inclusion of a date like that, but best to go ahead and ask him.
It's a good question.
Any more questions? That's all I've got to add, and we'll be prepared for the 22nd.
I guess that's up to the cash activity report. See, how come you left her up there by herself? I thought
Hey,
you were
we've
gonna
had a
start
lot-
sitting up
We've had a
there.
lot of communication. She's A-okay.
Yeah, well,
She's
we-
great.
Probably need you to start sitting up here, you know?
So there is 2, because the May wasn't available last month, so the May ending balance is $4,444,642.45. Cosmo Springs balance is $57,520.33, making the combined total $4,462,451.04.
Notice that there is in there May and June's, so everybody knows that May and June financial report.
And for June, the June ending balance is $4,462,451.04. The Poplar Springs total is $57,573.37, making the combined total $4,489,932.97. for the landfill tonnage volume report for June, our 22.5 day average is 513.23 tons. The 30-day average is 384.92 tons. And next is the summary customer activity report. You can review that.
Ben, I've got a question. This Kimberly Clark waste that goes down to Monroe County, I believe it is,
McMinn County.
McMinn County. That was material that you could use for alternative cover, correct?
At one point, and Adam,
Yes.
you'll know better than I will, is it
Yes,
still?
that is correct.
Well, I understand that, and I'm not exactly sure when that contract runs out with it going down to McMinn County. Would that not be something that we really need to concentrate or turn the sales team loose on to get that back?
Isn't that Randy's
So
Randy's department?
kind of break it down here a little bit. So whether you're putting a ton of trash in an acre for $20 or $6, that ton of acre or that ton of trash most likely is taking up same amount of airspace. So when
Right.
you look at it from a closure and post-closure perspective, you're putting cheap volume with the exact same amount of closure cost for that 1 acre. So is there an opportunity to look at it? Potentially, but do we want to go and, put some volume in the landfill that is going to potentially fill it up faster? That's going to generate less revenue for this commission.
Well, my question is, using it as alternative cover, does that not help the operations, the daily operations down there? There's gotta be an expense.
There is, but is there a trans cost associated with getting it? That outweighs what's on the property.
Well, I'd really like for Republic Santec to take a look at that.
Absolutely.
That is a industry that's here in our county, and make a run at it. I hate it going to another county. I think it needs to go into Loudon, if it's economical, feasible for both parties.
I think we can definitely look at that, and provide some feedback.
It may be 1 year, it may be 2 years still left on it, but nothing like the present to start working on it.
Sure.
And am I correct, Ben? Isn't that Randy's kind of area?
In terms of looking at waste streams, so it's gonna be probably a little bit more at the local level than Randy, but yes, Randy will have ultimate oversight over that. So I'll make sure Randy's aware of it and that we wanna look at it, and it'll be looked at.
Thank you.
Okay, next is the landfill inspection. Adam, do you have anything you want to address on that?
Well, y'all can look through, 8110, that we have a ALC on that would litter.
And is that's outside
Outside of the gates or outside of
the gates?
no, not outside.
Inside?
It's inside, back in the back. I mean, it wasn't nothing, not terrible, but we since corrected it, over the last month. The temp labor that we use is starting to pick back up, so we're available to get people in and pick up trash. More common than it had been the last 3 months.
I think you've been cleaning it up out on 72, correct?
The
trash.
Yes,
Because I noticed a couple of times, different occasions, that right above Monterey mushrooms, going out, going back towards, 75, there was trash on the road, and I'm pretty sure it come out of a can. But not exactly, because I wasn't there when it blew out. But I think you guys cleaned it up, and thank you for that.
Well,
Is this a new guy?
what about,
Is this a new guy? That's,
no, that was our last time for our guy.
oh.
He wasn't gonna leave without giving us something,
You should have
not
bought
his character.
You should have bought him a cake or something so he wouldn't do that.
I got him a raise right up out of the inspection department, so I got a lot of gift cards from other landfills.
Mr. Hall, may I ask a question with regards to the operation of the landfill?
Yes, ma'am.
Could you tell me how many people operate, how many employees you have at the landfill and their specific job duties there? I haven't been to the landfill, so I'm not familiar with your operation.
I have several different people, calculations 11, including myself.
And how many work on the scales and the tickets?
4. That's, if one's out, another one picks up. So we have one primary person that works on the scale, that is Shelby.
And what about the others? What do they do?
Well, Hannah ain't got nothing to do, she, runs the sweeper.
Hannah's always running the sweeper.
And then the other girl goes in the back, sweeps the floors. But there's plenty to do. I don't understand your question.
No, I'm asking about the operation itself. How many people do you have running machinery to actually,
Okay, you
Run
got
the line.
Hannah and Shelby's in the office. You got Bailey on the sweeper. Jeff, he's a supervisor, so he runs multiple pieces. We have a guy in a dozer, we have a guy in a compactor, we have a guy in the shop. We have a guy on the road department as far as sweeping and, not sweeping, but raking the roads, picking up trash. Multiple people run the water truck.
Excavator, dirt truck.
So, yeah, the excavator, dirt truck.
so is that the number that you had over the years, or do you see getting more additional personnel with the
I can't
public?
answer what they had over the years. They did not have enough.
Okay,
So what I have there now is exactly enough to stay under our budget and also keep the landfill in compliance without killing one person after the next.
thank you.
Adam, could you comment on 8170, the sediment in the pond? Has that already been taken care of, or is
It's
that?
in the process. It's not, we have a deadline of, the end of August to have it out. It's not completely full, but you can tell that it's starting to retrieve in the pond. We have already cleaned the outlet side. We got one side on the north side of the inlet side we have to retrieve, but, we have a thermometer, you would say, out in the pond that tells you the depth of the silt, and we're well beyond that range.
Does that material just go on the landfill itself?
It goes right back into the landfill. To be honest with you, we try to use it to grow grass, because that's the best dirt to grow grass with.
All right. Any other questions? Okay.
So next is the material classification report. We had 9,633 tons of MSW, 1,289 tons of special waste, and 626 tons of sludge. So the total material was 11,597 tons. We had 83% MSW, 17% special waste, and 5% sludge. And next is the waste characterization report. We'll review that. is a landfill tire report. We had 47.72 tons in June, bringing the annual total to 446.33 tons. Next is the airspace utilization report. Our full date is November 2023, and our 3-month average is 11,419 tons. And the host fees and security fees, for June, the host fee was $12,889.78. And the security fee was $16,274.98. Are there any questions?
Well, we kind of did the phase closure plan report update. Did you not think?
I think we covered it.
Yeah, I think we covered that one. So, on to the chairman's report. On the chairman's report, I do have a couple of invoices. I have the attorney's invoice for June. This is billing statement for June. And I do have the finance for our employees and for attendance. So if anyone wants to take a look at those, you're welcome. I'll look at those. I will say that over the laptop and things that Susan Husky is in the process of ordering that and getting that taken care of. So when she gets that done, I will come back to you. I'll have her give us the invoice for that too. Oh, thank you for the attendance. Alrighty.
I have a question.
Sure.
Should we be approving these invoices, since we don't have a budget, should we be approving the invoices as we go along, or how does that work?
So I think part of the strategy was that we have a contract in place, and essentially we're being billed monthly per the contract which the board approved. If there's some other, I think that's the way we handled it in the
Yeah,
past.
because it doesn't ever change as far as,
No, but I'm just talking in general, all the invoices. Should we be approving them as they come up?
And I think
I
if
think
we
we
have,
made the approval on the contract.
yeah,
Yeah.
in terms of, invoices, you know, if we have other invoices for things that are out of the ordinary, not our regular monthly expenditures, certainly we should be approving. But I think the regular expenditures for my contract, for commissioner fees and.
Richard Hill's contract.
Right, Richard Hill's contract.
Do we have any idea what Dr. Bacchus has charged us so far?
We have not seen the invoice.
We haven't seen, and we never set a cap about how much we were going to pay him either.
Right.
All right, let's go on to